As usual, PBS, Acorn, and E1 Releasing have teamed up to bring us some terrific dramas and action pieces from across the pond. So, without further ado, let's get started. First up, we have Macbeth. Yes, another adaptation of Shakespeare. The main difference this time, it's a proper film, not a filmed stage play, and it stars Patrick Stewart as Macbeth. And that's really the main reason to watch it. Now, if you're a Shakespeare fan, then I don't think you'll ever go wrong watching a good production of Shakespeare, and this is certainly that. I personally don't really care for Shakespeare, so the only reason for me to really enjoy it was Patrick Stewart's performance. Luckily, it's such a great performance that I actually did enjoy watching it. This is a film by Rupert Gold, who actually adapts the stage play that had Patrick Stewart in it into a film, and it's quite an exciting experience because it doesn't feel... Not only does it not feel like a film stage play, it doesn't feel like just a play that was transformed into a movie. It feels like an actual cinematic experience, and it's quite worth watching. Again, you have to be a Shakespeare fan, I think, to really enjoy it, but if you are, then you will definitely like this film, and it's about 3 hours long, so you're definitely getting plenty of bang for your buck, although there are no extra features on the disc. Next up, we have Man in a Suitcase, Set 1. Now, it's Set 1 because this show only lasted for one season. It was a 1968 British drama that lasted one season, but because there was 30 episodes in that season, Acorn has chosen to break it up into a couple of sets. And the story features this guy named McGill. That's basically his only name. He's basically a rogue secret agent, kind of an expatriate American secret agent who's been basically let go by the American powers that be, and so he sort of hires himself out as a private detective in London in the 60s. It's an interesting show. It's a lot of fun. It definitely has a sort of James Bond flair to it. It doesn't necessarily have the James Bond production values, but it certainly isn't one of those shows that suffers from poor production values either. It's a good, solid show. If you like spy, action, adventure stuff, I think you'll enjoy the show. And there are a few good guest stars as well, like Donald Sutherland popping up, and Richard Bradford, who is not an actor that I'm particularly familiar with, except for the fact that he's on the Untouchable show, is quite good in the lead role of McGill. He's got a lot of charisma, so certainly worth watching. If you like this type of show, Secret Agent Man, all that type of stuff, you'll enjoy Man in a Suitcase. It's 15 episodes, that's half the season on 4 discs, and there are no extra features except for a photo gallery, which is a nice photo gallery, but that's really all that you get. Next up, we have Wish Me Luck Series 2. Now, I didn't watch Series 1, but I have to say this is quite an enjoyable show. My knee-jerk reaction is to call it Desperate Housewives meets World War II, but that's really kind of a little too snarky for the show. This is a solid kind of drama thriller show based on real women's experiences in World War II of women who basically led these spy operations during World War II. And what the show does really well is it sort of blends the war stuff, the espionage stuff, with the kind of drama. You know, there are subplots about marriage and pregnancy and romance and things like that, but there are also really tense moments of spies being almost discovered and secret missions gone awry and stuff like that. So it's really kind of got something for everyone, whether you're a war film fan or a melodrama fan. This show basically has a little something for everyone. You get 7 episodes on 2 discs. Once again, there are no extra features, but it's definitely a show worth checking out. It was better than I expected it to be going into it. Next up, we have the Agatha Christie Hour, Set 2. This is 5 stories from Agatha Christie. It's a 2-disc set, and what it is basically is it's her non-Poirot or Miss Marple mysteries. It's based on 5 of her short stories that have been adapted into basically like 1-hour episodes. It's 2 discs, 5 episodes. The stories include Magnolia Blossom, The Mystery of the Blue Jar, The Red Signal, Jane in Search of a Job, and The Manhood of Edward Robinson. Now, these are all very enjoyable. I happen to like Agatha Christie, so these are kind of that fast-paced, pot-boiling sort of mysteries. They're not as complex as some of her longer stuff, and they're not quite as enjoyable as the stuff that has her signature characters in it. Of course, Miss Marple and Poirot, Hercule Poirot, are a lot of fun, and you get to know them. And so these mysteries, kind of not featuring any recognizable characters, aren't quite as snappy, but they are definitely enjoyable. And again, if you like Agatha Christie stuff, you really can't go wrong with these. Next up, we have Garrow's Law, Series 1. And this is one of those shows that I think only British television can do. I don't think American TV can pull this off. It's sort of like a Law and Order 1700 England, if you will, in that it's like a trial show but it's based on a real barrister from back in the 18th century, and it's based on some of his real court cases. It's sort of, well, not ripped from the headlines, as they say. It's legal drama ripped from the pages of history. Now, of course, it means there's a lot of white wigs and proper talk and stuff like that, but there are also some really good kind of court cases, some good drama, and of course a lot of really good acting. The main character, William Garrow, is played by Andrew Buchan, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, who you've seen in Cranford and some other things, and it's actually it's a good show, largely based on the performances, which are all quite good. Your bonus features on this set include a behind-the-scenes featurette, a photo gallery, a biography of the real William Garrow, and then some cast filmographies. And it's 4 episodes on 2 discs. It's about 4 hours worth of material on top of course, the special features. So it's not I mean, 4 hours isn't bad for a DVD. It's not, when it says Series 1, it wasn't a particularly long show in terms of the first season, but there is more to come after this, and again, certainly worth watching, especially if you like British dramas. Next up, we have Eichmann, which is a really interesting film about, of course, Eichmann, the famous Nazi. It's not an easy film to watch, but you have to give Thomas Kretschmann credit. He plays Eichmann, and his performance really is magnificent. And he's surrounded by really great supporting actors like Franca Potente and Stephen Fry. The performances really are key here. I mean, this is really kind of, it's an interesting story. It's not about Eichmann. Well, it is about him when he was a Nazi, but it's sort of told through flashbacks. It's after, the story takes place after he was captured by the Israelis and is being interrogated. And so you kind of flash back to the things that he does, and it's an interesting way of portraying the character, but really it boils down to Kretschmann's performance as this hideous character, but you kind of learn about his life and you see different sides of him. It's a very brave role, in my opinion. You're never going to win an Oscar or a BAFTA for playing a Nazi. Maybe I shouldn't say never, but rarely, because they're not characters that elicit a lot of sympathy. But really, a well put together film that really benefits especially from the performances, which are fantastic across the board. Next up, we have Downton Abbey from Masterpiece Classic. It says it's the original UK edition, which leads me to believe that when this aired on PBS in the United States, they probably trimmed some of the running time from it, because the Brits do make longer television than us here in America. So, and Downton Abbey is kind of one of these very, I don't want to say typical, because it's high quality, very good production dramas, good scripts, great acting, but typical in that it's this, similar to like an Upstairs Downstairs or Bleak House, that type of thing. A lot of aristocracy, a lot of British people from the upper crust and the lower crust, so to speak, interacting. A lot of sirs and madams and dowries and earls and dukes and that type of thing. And it's a very kind of complex drama. There's a lot of characters. There's a lot of interplay between the people. You have to definitely pay attention to what's going on to follow what melodrama each character is involved in every particular episode. But it is well done. Like I said, a lot of good performances, especially from Maggie Smith, who's fantastic. And there is a little bit of humor in it, although this is mostly a dramatic show. And that's okay. But it is nice to see some humor in there occasionally. It's about a 6-hour program on 3 discs, and there are 2 bonus features, Downton Abbey, The Making of, and Downton Abbey, A House in History. Finally, we have the last of the summer wine, Vintage 1987, which includes a feature-length special called Uncle of the Bride, which introduces the character of Seymour. And that's interesting because Seymour is a little bit of an annoying character. I have not watched a lot of The Last of Southern Wine. It is a British sitcom and involves a lot of senior citizens acting slightly goofy for the most part. It's sort of a little bit of an acquired taste, I think. After you watch enough of it, you can sort of find it more enjoyable, but I think it's the type of thing that might turn a lot of people off if they're just kind of stumbling into an episode or two. This is the 1987 series, which I think a lot of actually ran in 1986, but since this show ran through 2010, that leaves like 20 or 25 seasons worth of episodes still to put out, and it seems like the BBC has kind of taken their time a little bit with getting them out. But they are coming out. So here you have the 1987 season. It's 3 discs, and it's going to run you about 6 hours total. And the extra features are, like I said, the aforementioned Uncle of the Bride feature-length TV movie that introduces the character of Uncle Seymour. Other than that, there are no other extra features.